Chapter 102, What Helped? Helped doesn't mean healed. Helped means shifted, created sustained change, not for 2 days of afterglow, saturation for months for keeps. ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. This was the main thing. Not because the program is perfect, it's imperfect like everything, but because it gave 3 things no one else did. First, naming. 3 rules. Don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. Describe my entire life in 3 words. 14 traits of the adult child of an alcoholic. I recognize myself in everyone. This was not intellectual understanding. It was bodily recognition, as if someone turned on the light in a room where you'd been groping your whole life, and you saw walls, furniture, doors. Everything was always here. You just couldn't see. Second, people. A room where those who survive the same thing sit. Beatings, expulsion, betrayal, parental alcoholism, control, perfectionism, inability to feel. And they're alive, and they speak aloud, and some even smile. I saw, this is possible. Third, reparenting. The concept that changed everything. Don't wait for a mother, become one. Don't wait for someone to come and save you. Grow an inner parent who will be with you always. Kind voice, noticing, comfort, praise, protection. Everything grandmother didn't do. Everything mother didn't do. Everything grandfather wanted to but couldn't. Do it yourself. Every day. For yourself. The 12 steps, not all equally. The first, admitting powerlessness, was the hardest and most important. The fourth, inventory, the most painful and most useful. The fifth, confession aloud, the most terrifying. But those 3 shifted the most. Breathwork. This was the second key for after ACA. Not relaxation breathing, that hadn't worked for 20 years, but breathing as a tool for access in the body, Kundalini yoga, breath of fire, DMT breathing, like mushrooms, only without them and weaker, but works safely and consistently. For the first time in decades, the body answered, not to a pill, not to a therapist's words, to a breath. To a physical action requiring no understanding, no faith, nothing except lungs. The specific practices I used, I found them myself through trial and error. Links are in the What to Listen to Next section. I didn't know how to breathe. That sounds absurd. You breathe every second, otherwise you die. But I didn't know how to truly breathe. The diaphragm didn't work. Internal muscles needed for breathing were completely disconnected. All posture wrong, built on hypercompensations by other muscles. My whole life I breathed backward. Long inhale and short exhale. Sympathetic nervous system in permanent dominance, and then we wonder why I don't sleep. I never relaxed, except on Adderall and MDMA. Learning to breathe again? Like learning to walk after paralysis. I cried over it. I was 40 and couldn't relax while breathing. That's brutally hard. What comes naturally and effortlessly to others. When breathing, so much screaming and tears came out of me. Mostly screaming, and sounds childlike, inhuman, the kind I'd never consciously made. The body decided what to release. I didn't control. For the first time in my life, didn't control. And didn't die from it. Through breathing, the body began to unlock. What had been clenched since birth, released. The body started waking up. I began feeling skin, bones, sacrum, diaphragm. Everything I hadn't felt for years. Could feel when a muscle was tense and could relax it. Before, the entire body was one continuous tension, and against that background, individual signals were indistinguishable, like trying to hear a whisper during a thunderstorm. From the second center, pelvis area, came a lot of fear. I ground my teeth, and anger came out. Suppressed scream. It simply wasn't there. throat clenched, jaw locked, and therefore spasm. My whole life I lived in this spasm and didn't even notice. I notice only now, by contrast, when the rest is relaxed. Before, the whole body was in such tension, as if a cramp seizes the neck and head, and I lived like that, and didn't even notice. From the body came sounds, a child's cry, different ones, like a child no one comes to at night, and she cries. And I started moving, rocking, and felt in my heart such compassion, so much pain endured. I became the mother of this child, of myself, and she showed me what happened in childhood, what words can't tell, and what I don't remember. From the second center came a lot of fear. I ground my teeth, and anger came out. Suppressed scream. It simply wasn't there. Throat clenched, jaw lock, and therefore whine and spasm. My whole life I lived in this spasm and didn't even notice. I notice only now, by contrast, when the rest is relaxed. Before, the whole body was in such tension, as if a cramp seizes the neck and head, and I lived like that and didn't even notice. From the body came sounds, a child's cry, different ones, like a child no one comes to at night and she cries. And I started moving, rocking, and felt in my heart such compassion, so much pain endured. I became the mother of this child, of myself, and she showed me what happened in childhood, what words can't tell, and what I don't remember. Sometimes during breathing, something rose from the pelvis upward, as if inside something woke that had been sleeping curled up. Snake was shedding old skin. I, old beliefs. The body did what the head needed 30 years for. Let go. My perfectionist and controller were thrilled. You can improve yourself through the body and make it more perfect. I directed all control inward, and a complete integration of opposites occurred. The rigidity that had destroyed me my whole life became a tool of softness. The control that suffocated became a method of relaxation. It was very beautiful. Before, I couldn't do a body scan. When they said, notice the tension in your body, you can't notice it when everything is in spasm. When everything hurts, you can't tell what hurts specifically, but as more relaxation appeared, I began to notice, right now, the abs, the bladder, the jaw and tongue, very tense. Before, the whole body was one continuous tension, and against that background, individual signals were indistinguishable, like listening for a whisper during a thunderstorm. Breathing gave what 12 modalities couldn't: connection to the body, and the body, it stored everything the head refused to remember, all 20 years of insomnia, bleeding, pain. The body was mourning what the head suppressed, and when through breathing I finally began to listen, it told me my story, without words, through spasms, convulsions, pain, relaxation, tears, laughter, screams, and groans. The body remembered, and I allowed. Joe Dispenza, Meditations, first seminar, a spontaneous trip from the suicidal pit, gave nothing tangible. 6 months of meditation, we felt nothing, but I continued every day, asked for joy, love, sensations in the body, and at some point, don't remember exactly when, it started arriving. Not joy, not love, but silence. The silence inside that had never existed, because control was always running, thoughts always churning, there was always a plan, and suddenly, quiet, for a second, and in that silence, not empty like before. Something was there. Sadhguru, this was the last thing I tried, and it worked. Not like a pill, not like a method, but like a turn, as if your whole life you walked down a corridor hitting walls, and suddenly someone showed, there's a door here, it was always here, you were just looking in the wrong direction. First trip, November 2025, inner engineering, then soak in enlightenment. I arrived as I was, controlling, analytical, broken, with 12 modalities behind me and not a single lasting result. Arrive not for enlightenment, for a last attempt, as with everything in life, not because I believe, but because the alternative is the knife. At the ashram, I came for the Shunya program, meditation of silence, emptiness. All participants went through initiation. I didn't, because on the very first day, I honestly wrote on the form that I have depression and PTSD. Honestly, as I was taught, the truth. And the truth turned out to be not what they wanted to hear. Their instructions, we don't work with those. Come back when you're cured. When you're cured. I came here to get cured, and they said, first cure yourself, then come. Like a hospital telling a person with a broken leg, oh, you have a fracture? No, we don't take fractures. Come back when it heals. This was the third time. Third. First in Peru. Wouldn't take me for ayahuasca ceremony because depression. Then Vipassana wouldn't take me because depression. Now Sadhguru. Same formula. Same door slamming the moment you tell the truth. They sat me apart so volunteers could see I can't go through initiation. Everyone could see. Again, an outcast like at school. So many feelings rose. Abandoned, rejected for honesty. And at some point, from that very despair I made a decision. Not smart, not measured. A decision from the body, not the head. I got angry. Sitting in the ashram, I decided I don't believe in anyone anymore. Don't want to believe. And there's no chance of believing. Never again. And a weight fell from me, as if my whole life I'd been forced to believe in something that caused pain. Grandmother with prayers, the program with kneeling, therapist with trust the process. And I finally gave myself permission not to believe. Not from cynicism, from honesty. The child inside said, enough. I won't pretend anymore. And immediately thought, if God exists, okay, he should work regardless of whether you believe or not. Otherwise, what kind of God is he? Now, petty, manic, demanding worship. A rather unenlightened God then. And Sadhguru, this was the key, didn't market God. Not once. Didn't say trust the higher power. Didn't say fall to your knees. Didn't say without God you're nothing. He said something else. Leave God alone. Work on yourself. Look inside. Don't search outside for what lives inside. Everything you need is already here, in you. Faith lives inside you, in your body, in your breath, in your attention. And right there, was sitting alone in that ashram, rejected for honesty, without initiation, without a group, without a God I don't believe in, I did the inner work. Not meditation and work. The one I'd been walking toward for 20 years and couldn't reach. Feel the fucking feelings and do not run away. I renounced all external supporting figures. God, guru, teacher. The idea that someone outside knows how to fix me. And the idea that I need fixing at all. For 20 years I'd had a list. Long, detailed, the perfectionist compiled it. Of what to correct, fake, redo in myself to become a normal person. And for 20 years I followed that list, and it never got shorter. And here, in the ashram they wouldn't let me into, I finally understood. These qualities won't change. There won't be a different brain. There won't be a different body. There won't be a different nervous system. I am like this, complex, heavy, with a pile of diagnoses, with insomnia, with pain, with a critic that won't shut up. And therapy won't make me different. Nothing will make me different. And then I said to myself, not from the head, but from the place where truths are spoken, well, so what? I'll be with you to the end of my days, no matter what, just like this, as you are. And at that moment, for the first time in my entire life, the child part spoke, not from despair, not from hysteria. She asked a question, quiet, direct, one that made my throat close. Then why do you want to kill me? 20 years of therapy, books about IFS, books about reparenting, exercises, techniques. 20 years I tried to build a dialogue between the parent inside and the child inside, and couldn't. Either I lived from the parent and said the right words, I'm with you, you're not alone, or I fell into the child, despair, suicidal thoughts, the pit. But together, there was no conversation, no dialogue. And here it appeared, not from a technique, not from a book, from dropping the conditions. Because until that moment, all 20 years inside my I'm with you lived a hidden condition, unspoken but palpable. I'm with you if you become calmer, if you stop wanting to die, if you stop being like this. For the adult part, this sounded like care. For the child, like a verdict. In this form, you're a mistake. I'm with you for now, but you must change. And the child was silent. Because dialogue is not a technique, it's trust. And trust is impossible when you're accepted with conditions. When I said, so what, I'm staying with you as you are, the condition vanished for the first time. And the child believed, dared to speak, stopped being an object of repair, and became a conversant. I'd later understand, the inner parent doesn't form from books. It forms from the lived experience of non-rejection. Drop by drop, each person who didn't reject me when I was unbearable gave a grain of what I didn't have. You collect those grains, wrap them into a single figure, and that's called the inner parent. When critical mass tips, it comes alive. Right here in the ashram they wouldn't let me into for initiation, it came alive. I met the little version of myself, and we spoke, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. I'd been walking toward it so long. They wouldn't let me into Shunya, but a mother was born. ChatGPT, AI existential psychotherapist model. Conversations with AI, pattern analysis, archive review, thought structuring, felt like talking to God. Not because AI is God, but because for the first time someone listened without judgment, without interrupting, a mirror that reflects without distorting. Plus ChatGPT helped with the fourth step. I fed it my notes. It saw patterns, saved a fortune on therapy. For a thorough analytical mind, the ideal tool. Body practices, not the ones that didn't help, or chiropractor, physical therapy, but the ones that came later, when the body started waking up. Osteopath, Yulia, life coach and yoga. Alina, singing, a voice clenched since childhood. Olya, bodynamics. Daily exercises, foot, pelvis, sacrum. Building a body map. All of this only worked after breathing and meditation strengthened the core. Before that, like building walls without a foundation. Books, Bert Hellinger, Constellations, through which I spent 7 years working on my mother and reached acceptance. Eckhart Tolle, Presence, Being Here and Now. Gabor Mate, Alcohol is an Answer to Pain. Alan Watts, Don't Fight with Life, Dance in the Rain. Carl Jung, The Individuation Process, The Shadow. The body keeps the score. The body keeps the score. The ACA book, my Bible. Each of these books laid a brick. None built the house. The house was built by all of them together. The kind voice, the simplest and the hardest. Learning to speak to yourself differently, not in grandmother's voice. You're defective, you're not coping, but in another, warm, the one you use with the cat that scratches, but you love anyway. The critic didn't disappear. He got softer, turned from an executioner into a grumpy grandfather who grumbles but doesn't hit. That's an enormous difference.